Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to the episode number 64 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. Welcome again. In this tutorial we're going to take a look on how we can achieve some pretty cool stuff in a responsive way with PHP. I know the title of this tutorial is responsive with PHP, but it's kind of misleading. It's kind of like I did it on purpose, so I want to just like specify that you cannot do responsive design with PHP, of course, but thanks to a nifty implementation that we're going to use written in PHP, we will be able to detect the type of device that the user is using and return some specific stuff. Because, of course, a desktop version has to be dramatically different from a mobile version in terms of performances and what we want to return to the user. So let me give you an example. First of all, I'm using Google Chrome right now, not Firefox, because Google Chrome has this device virtualization that actually tells the website and communicates to the website that the website has been viewed as an actual device. So if we have, and something that we're going to have, some script that detects if the user is watching this website from a desktop version or a desktop environment or a mobile, a specific device, we need to virtualize this if we don't want to test it directly on a real device. Anyway, this is really handy in Google Chrome, and I really hope that Firefox will implement it again. Anyway, we were taking care of the responsive design, and what we did is pretty good. Of course, there are some like weird UI issues that are easily fixable with some padding and stuff, but today I want to show you a cool implementation that we can have with PHP. So for example, if we scroll down, our second blog post is the gallery blog post. And you know that we created this slider that it's super cool. If you click or you go and roll over, it appears the next slides. But because we are on a mobile device, on a touch device, we don't have rollover options. And this is super weird. Like if you click, remains open, you have to click outside to close it. And having a slider on a small device, on a mobile device, is not the best. I don't know you, but I actually never use a slider or a carousel or something like that on a mobile device. It's really annoying to use. The image is too small. It's just like not useful. So what I want to do, I want to use that PHP implementation to detect if the user is watching this website on a mobile device and completely drop the slider, not loading at all, and just loading like a simple featured image, something like we have here now. This is bad example, something like this, but of course resizing the style of the featured image. So in order to do that, in order to achieve the detection of the device the user is watching, I suggest you to use a pretty cool implementation called Mobile Detect. And you can go on the website mobiledetect.net. This has been around for years, and if you never implemented, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. Like you can use, of course, JavaScript detection, or you can use also like HTML detection sometimes. But this program, this implementation never failed me. It's so light and it's so easy to implement. What it does, it's pretty simple. So let me zoom in a little bit. We have just one single PHP file that we can implement and include in our theme. And then we create a new mobile detect class. This is built in PHP object-oriented programming. It's not procedural. And then we have a bunch of different methods that we can call that are Boolean, and we'll return true or false based on the actual user, if the user is watching our website from a specific device. So let's download this version 2.8.24 and let's put it inside our theme folder, inside our ink folder where all the PHP script that we have are here. Let's just drop mobile detect. Of course, here you could create a folder called vendor and maybe include this script. Actually, let's do it. So let's create a new folder and let's call it vendor. And these, when you see this folder a folder name called vendor, usually it's because the theme or the application that you're using is using some external script that the developer that built that application didn't actually build. So just remember, if you see vendor, it means that that folder contains external, like, third-party script. Let's access our code editor. In my case, I'm using Sublime Text, and let's implement this wonderful mobile detection. So first, let's access our ink folder. Vendor is mobile detect in here. You can see it's like pretty cool. Okay, if you want to take a look, but we don't actually need it. Let's open our functions.php file and let's require the mobile detect inside here before we start requiring all our other scripts, because in this way we can use the class mobile detect. We can declare a new class in every other script. It's not necessary to have this script included in every single one. So let's write require, and the file is going to be, of course, inside. We can use the same format that it's pretty handy. So get template directory, concatenation with a dot, ink, and the file, it's inside the vendor folder, and the file is called mobile detect. Let's save it. Just to check, let's refresh our theme and let's see if we have any PHP error. We don't have anything, and that's good. It means that including requiring this third-party PHP script didn't cause any error, and now we can do something cool. So first of all, we have our sliders that are used only on a gallery post format. So what we can do, we can access our template parts and check the content gallery, that is the PHP file that handles generation of the slider. And here we notice that we have the attachment sunset get bootstrap slider, and here we have the for each that creates the slides, and then we print the navigation. So here basically we have this entire header area with the sunset get attachment, and here we have the data write carousel. So of course, with responsive, you could simply say that, for example, let's give it a try. Let's say that I don't want this to be visible only when we are on mobile and we are on tablet. So I can use the built-in Bootstrap classes to hide this on extra small size and small size. So if we save it, go back in the front end and let's refresh, you will notice that the gallery 2 and the other gallery post format, they don't have the slide anymore. But if we check the source code, if we analyze here and we go, see what happened. We still have the slider, we still have the carousel that in the background is still running with the JavaScript. So we are not loading visually, we're not showing visually the carousel, but the carousel is still there, it's still happening, still sliding. And this is heavy, this is terrible for a mobile device, especially having JavaScript running in the background. For a mobile device that doesn't even see what we're rendering, it's just like really terrible. Plus, we are causing issue on loading time because we are still loading 7 or a maximum of 7 images to build the slider, and for something that we don't have to show, we don't want to show at all, and this is the worst. So what we can do here, we can first test if we can completely avoid to build something like this. So here we already have an if statement, and then we have the end if here. So what we can do is if statement, the sunset get attachment means that the gallery post format has attachments, and double ampersand is the same of writing like something like end, but let's write in a fancy way with a double ampersand. Let's declare a variable and then we will assign a new class of mobile detect. For now, let's use the default one that it's used in the documentation, so $detect, and let's access the method is mobile. And also, let's repeat the variable detect, the method is tablet. And in both of these cases, we have to put an exclamation mark at the beginning of this variable because we want the opposite. So this if statement, this condition has to be true if the sunset get attachment has an image, but has to be false. It means that we don't want this to be printed if the detect is on mobile or the detected the user to be on tablet. So putting the exclamation mark at the beginning of the variable will check if this statement is false, and that's what we want. Before checking if this works, of course, we have to declare this detect variable because now it's undeclared. So at the top of our file, we can write detect and assign to this detect the new class of mobile detect. That is the class wrapper of the mobile detect.php script. And that's it. Let's check if it works. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. You will notice that gallery 2 and gallery post format don't have any slider, as it was happening before with the bootstrap classes. But if we access our inspector and we inspect the actual post, you will notice that in the header we don't have anymore the slider. So with this script, with this detection at the beginning, we're basically avoiding for a mobile user to load unnecessary images and load and start like unnecessary JavaScript in the background. And this is perfect. This is amazing. That's what we want. At this point though, our gallery post format that looked kind of weird because here we had an image, so should be something like that. What we can do, we can use the mobile detection or tablet detection to return the same format that we have for a standard post format with a simple image right below the header, and that's what we want to do. So let's go back in our text editor and basically let's access the content.php, that is the file that prints the standard post format. And here we can notice that the header in the standard post format contains only the title and the entry method, exactly what is happening in the content gallery if we don't have the slider. So we're printing the header with just the title and the content method, and in the regular post format we have another if sunset get attachment and we print this stuff. So what we can do, we can copy this, go inside the content, go inside the entry content, and right before the excerpt, like it's happening on the content post format, we can maintain exactly this code. We don't have to touch it at all and use the sunset get attachment. But then we have to copy paste these other two statements and we have to add it, but we have to change it a little bit because if we paste just this and we remove the exclamation mark, so it means that this has to be true, this declaration doesn't really work this condition because we are checking if this post has at least one attachment, then this can be true. And then we are checking and if this detection is mobile, and that can be true, but both of these cannot be true. So we cannot be both on mobile and on tablet. So what we can do, we can wrap these two into another simple brackets. So by using indented brackets into an if statement, we are declaring something that has to be checked on its own. So basically the relationship in between these two has to be these posts as images and one of these two has to be true. So instead of the and, we can use the or instead of writing or, we can use the two pipes. So basically by wrapping this declaration inside the simple brackets, we are saying that one of these two, or is mobile or is tablet, has to be true, and plus this post has to have an attached image. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And now we have our gallery 2 post format that has just an image, and then we have the gallery post format, the first one that has just an image, it's not a slider. And if we access the inspector and we check, we have just one single image. No sliders has been triggered, no multiple images loaded and not visualized, and it's identical to the standard post format. So that's perfect. The only thing that we have to do right now, we have to implement a really small media query to just drop these image, the standard featured to be, instead of height 500, let's say we want to go down to 260 or maybe 240, something like that. Let's say 220. Oh, I like it. Look how slick and beautiful is that. That's perfect. Let's go and detect this sunset format gallery. Let's access our sunset.scss, and let's search for sunset format gallery. Perfect. And then we have the standard feature that height is 500, and perfect. So here we can use the same trick that we used for the header. And if you remember, if we scroll up, we have some embedded media query with XS, SM, and all the other variable declarations that we had to respect the media query of WordPress. So let's copy this and let's go back here and let's paste this media query inside the standard featured. And we are saying that at max width of small size, I want the height to be 220 pixel. Save it. Let's go back here. Let's refresh. And it didn't work because if I show you here, I have an error in the compiler, in the background SAS compiler that I'm running on my terminal. I have an undefined variable $SM. So I didn't remember, I didn't declare this. So let's simply access our variables.scss. Oh, I see. That's why I don't use that, because I have just one simple media query that XS for me, it's activating when we switch to tablet. So it's perfect. Let's use that declaration XS, save it. Let's wait for the compiler to finish. Let's go back in the front end, refresh. And that's awesome. So now what's going to happen? Because with PHP, what we did is not responsive. I mean, it's responsive because it detects which device you're using. But if we increase the size and we reach the point where we're not anymore physically like on a tablet, we're not gonna get our slider activated back. And someone could consider these a mistake, someone can consider this like a bug. I don't consider it like a bug because for me it's fine, it's okay. Because honestly, who in hell access a website like this with a browser like compressed like this and then expand it? If you do this, you don't deserve to see a slider. No, I'm kidding. It's just like really unusual for a user to do this. Like I know as like developers, especially front-end developers, we used to do this thing like shrinking and resizing the browser a lot of times to check that everything works perfectly. But the reality of the fact is that if a user accesses our website on a desktop with a regular desktop resolution, it's going to actually see everything. So if we deactivate the mobile simulation here and we refresh, we're going to have the slider. If a user accesses website on a tablet or on a mobile, it's going to see some specific way. It's pretty impossible that if you're on a tablet and you access the website in this resolution, you're going to stretch your tablet to increase the resolution. It's like not going to happen. So it's okay. It's okay to not have PHP actually responsive and adaptive based on the resize of the browser windows, because it's a pretty unusual behavior that only developers do, or mostly done by developers and not by users. So at this point you could think that it's it, that's pretty much it, we did everything that we need to do. But this thing that we created here, declaring a variable and initializing a new class directly inside a PHP repeated file, is not a best practice. It's not the best thing ever. It's actually something that we should avoid to do, because if you imagine in our website, we have the content gallery that it gets injected, it gets included every time we have a gallery post format. So that means that every time we have a gallery post format, we redeclare this new class over and over again, storing the same variable. And it's really not the best. We should avoid it, especially if, for example, it could happen that a user has the entire index page full of just gallery post formats. Can you imagine like how heavy this is gonna turn into in PHP? So let's avoid to do that, and let's see how to declare a global variable that we can later call every time we need to access it. So let's, for now, comment this part and let's copy it. And then let's go inside our ink folder and let's select the theme support.php file. But of course, as usual, you can add this code that we're going to write in whatever file you want. If you have a different structure, you can follow your scheme, your architecture. It's not really a problem. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom and let's write a simple comment to initialize mobile detect. And let's actually write initialize global mobile detect. So let's create a function and let's create a method, and this method can be called whatever. In my case, I'm gonna call it mobile detect global. No parameters need to be passed, and then inside the method we're gonna declare a global variable called detect, that is the variable that we're gonna use everywhere in our website, and then we're gonna assign these detect the new class of mobile detect. So we are creating this global variable called detect, and then we are storing inside this variable the declaration, the initialization, the new class of global detect. In order to have these accessible everywhere, we have to activate and call this function with action from WordPress. So right after the function, let's write add action, and the action is after underscore theme setup, and then comma, and second parameter, this action is of course the name of the method, the function that we want to call, and semicolon at the end. Let's save it. Let's go back inside our content gallery, and now what we have to do here is just simply call again the global detect variable that we don't have to initialize it anymore. We have to just call it because it was initialized at the beginning of the generation of our theme, so after the theme setup. So in order to do that, we have to just simply write global $detect. Basically, we are telling you WordPress to access the global variable detect in order to be used inside the content gallery.php. If we go back in our website and we refresh to see if we destroyed something, and yes, we broke something. So let's access the source and say, oh, there you go. We have the error on code error. Call to a member function is mobile. Okay, so the variable is not working. Why? Detect. Oh, sorry guys, I wrote the wrong action. It's not after theme setup, but is after setup underscore theme. Is the other way around. This is the official and real WordPress action. Sorry for the mistake, just a simple typo. Let's save, let's go back in our website, let's refresh, and now everything's working. So we are on desktop and we have our gallery working, everything's good. If we simulate the mobile version of this website, and in order to do that, I'm going to use Google Chrome because it has a proper mobile simulation here. We can activate the device toolbar and get, let's say, a Nexus 6P type of layout. Let's refresh to trigger the actual PHP. And now we have the gallery post format that is not anymore sorry, I clicked on it. It's not anymore a scrollable gallery, but if we deactivate this and we refresh the page again, we're gonna have back our gallery. So we know that our mobile detect works properly, we don't have any issue. And now with this method, we are triggering the declaration of the class after the setup of the theme, and we have this global variable that we can access everywhere in our website, and we can use it everywhere. So we don't need this comment anymore. We can save it, and that's perfect. The other thing that I want to do before concluding this lesson, I want to take care of the titles here. We have the H1, the entry title, that we have a pretty gigantic font size, and I want to just shrink it down really quickly and really easily with the same option, with the same embedded media query that I'm using here. So let's take care of the typography. If we go up to and we search H1, we have a font size of 48 pixels and a font weight of 200 pixels. So here we can declare at the end of everything, we can declare our media query that at access here, font size of, let's go down to maybe 26, refresh. That's way better. And let's do the same for, what is this? It's a quote. So sunset format quote content. And this can go down to 20 pixels. Let's refresh. It looks like here we have a mistake or something. So we actually, I wrote the height and not the font size. Sorry, I pasted the previous media query. Refresh, and now the font size. It's good. That's perfect. Another thing, we should shrink down a little bit of padding here. So especially in between posts. So we have that every post right now, every article has a padding top of 40 and padding bottom 40. I want to cut that in half because it's too much. So let's search for the article. We have the article that padding top 40 and padding bottom 40, and now we can do exactly the same in a beautiful and fashionable way. Simply say that we want the padding top 20 pixel and the padding bottom be 20 pixels as well. Refresh, and every day now it's more nice and tidy. Look at that. Yes. And let's do just a couple of small updates for also the image post format. Here we have this image header, a sunset format image entry header as a height of 600 pixels. Sunset format image as a entry header height of 600 pixel. And we don't really want that, but we want a height of 220. We want to maintain it consistent. And then let's do the same for the standard post format. That right now the height is 330. So height 330. And let's say not to that. And height has to be 220. Let's leave it like that. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And perfect, look at that. The mobile experience, it's way better, way more consistent, and way shorter. We don't have this gigantic thing. Of course, there's still a lot of work to do to make it work properly, but the important thing is that we have now the ability, thanks to a combination of both CSS and PHP, to avoid load useless stuff for the user. So it's pretty much it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can spend a couple of minutes on the support me page of my website, where you can find all different ways and methods to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you. Thank you again, guys, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding.